many African cultures, marriage begins long before the wedding day. Families often play a huge role in finding a suitable partner.
Exactly. For example, in some tribes, parents or elders act as matchmakers. They look at things like the family's reputation, values, and sometimes even their lineage.
That's so interesting. And in some cases, the couple might not even meet until their families have agreed on the match. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Speak English Today podcast. I'm Peter.
And I'm Mary. We're so excited to have you here today. This episode is going to be fascinating because we're diving into the rich and vibrant world of Native African marriages.
That's right. Native African marriage traditions are diverse, deeply rooted in culture, and filled with symbolism. Whether you're from Africa, a lover of its culture, or just curious about different wedding traditions, there's so much to learn and appreciate.
Absolutely. And throughout this conversation, we'll explain some key terms that you might hear, like bride price, dowry, traditional marriage, and ancestral blessings.
Great idea. So, let's kick things off with a general overview. When we talk about Native African marriages, we're referring to traditional ceremonies that often vary by tribe, region, and religion. Africa is a massive continent, so there's no one-size-fits-all tradition.
Yes, and one thing that stands out is how marriage isn't just about two individuals. It's often a union of two families or even communities.
Let's start with courtship. In many African cultures, marriage begins long before the wedding day. Families often play a huge role in finding a suitable partner.
Exactly. For example, in some tribes, parents or elders act as matchmakers. They look at things like the family's reputation, values, and sometimes even their lineage.
That's so interesting. And in some cases, the couple might not even meet until their families have agreed on the match. Imagine that in today's world of dating apps and social media.
It's such a different approach, isn't it? But it emphasizes the idea that marriage is a collective decision. Now, here's a key term to explain: dowry.
Yes, the dowry is the property or wealth that the bride's family gives to the groom's family. It's a way of supporting the new household. But there's also the concept of the bride price.
Exactly. The bride price, or lobola in some cultures, is the wealth or payment that the groom's family gives to the bride's family. This could be in the form of money, livestock, or other goods. It's a way of showing appreciation for raising the bride and for welcoming her into the groom's family.
And this process is often accompanied by negotiations, which can be quite formal and symbolic. It's like a business transaction, but filled with cultural meaning.
Okay, let's move on to the actual marriage ceremonies. One of the most beautiful things about Native African marriages is how colorful and festive they are.
So true. For example, in the Yoruba culture of Nigeria, there's a ceremony called the engagement ceremony. This is where the groom and his family formally ask for the bride's hand in marriage.
Oh yes, and during this ceremony, the groom often prostrates or lies flat on the ground as a sign of respect to the bride's family.
Exactly. It's such a powerful moment. And another interesting tradition comes from the Zulu people in South Africa. The bride and groom exchange gifts, and there's often a dance-off between the families to show their happiness and acceptance of the union.
That's so vibrant. Let's also talk about the Maasai people of Kenya and Tanzania. In their culture, the bride's father might spit on her head and chest as a blessing before she leaves with her husband.
That's such a unique gesture. It might seem unusual to outsiders, but it's a deeply symbolic act of good luck and blessings.
It just goes to show how rich and varied African marriage traditions are.
Let's talk about symbolism. Marriage in Africa is often seen as more than just a union between two people. It's a spiritual and ancestral connection.
Yes. For instance, in many cultures, there's a ritual involving the pouring of libations. This is where alcohol or water is poured onto the ground to honor ancestors and ask for their blessings.
I love that. And then there's the use of traditional attire. For example, in Ghana, the couple might wear kente cloth, which is hand-woven and carries specific meanings based on its colors and patterns.
Oh yes, the kente cloth is stunning. And in Ethiopia, the couple might wear crowns and robes that resemble royal attire, symbolizing their new roles as king and queen of their household.
So much symbolism. And we can't forget about food. Sharing a meal, like a roasted lamb or a specially prepared dish, often symbolizes unity and abundance.
Now, let's discuss how modern life has influenced Native African marriages. Many couples today have both a traditional wedding and a white wedding, which is influenced by Western culture.
That's true. The white wedding usually includes a church ceremony, a white dress for the bride, and a reception. It's interesting to see how couples balance both traditions.
Yes, and in urban areas, you might see some changes in the bride price or dowry process. Some families are adapting to modern financial realities and simplifying these traditions.
Absolutely. It's all about finding a balance between honoring cultural traditions and embracing modern values.
Before we wrap up, let's talk about some challenges. One issue is the commercialization of certain traditions, like the bride price. In some cases, families demand exorbitant amounts, turning it into a financial burden for the groom.
That's a valid concern. But on the positive side, Native African marriages are a beautiful way to preserve culture and pass down traditions to the next generation.
Absolutely. They're not just weddings, they're celebrations of heritage, community, and love.
This has been such an insightful discussion. Native African marriages are truly a testament to the richness of the continent's cultures.
We hope you've learned something new today. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.
And let us know in the comments, what's your favorite marriage tradition? Or what did you find most interesting?
Thanks for joining us on the Speak English Today podcast. See you next time.